On January 31st, 1999, at the Regal Riverfront Hotel in St. Louis, Fernando Ibarra, a 23-year-old boxer, was knocked out in the 6th round. Although he was able to stand to hear the result of the bout, his brain hemorrhaged and he soon lapsed into a coma. Wow. The injury was clearly the result of the blow that sent him to the canvas. After 2 weeks and 2 surgeries at St. Louis University Hospital, Ibarra's condition improved from critical to fair, but it is unclear whether he will ever make a full recovery. Such is the case with many of us tonight. Having been dealt blow after blow with the travails of life, although we remain conscious, the jury is still out as to whether we will ever make a full recovery. As a result, we've learned how to retreat to our corners and receive our 60-second revival, our 60-second strategy session, our 60-second makeovers. There, we learned how to hide our scars, how to mask our pain, and how to master our strategies for victory. There, we learn how to fight until we fall, how to lash out until we are counted out, and how to emerge yet again, cleaned up but not victorious. Tonight's sermon is not about winning or losing, but about living always in victory. It's about identifying those areas of our lives that cause us to continually be counted out, defeated, and robbed of our rightful places in God. They are called strongholds. Those areas of our lives that we have created to serve as a means of protection over rejection, as power over our pain, as happiness over the need for healing, as satisfied over dire emptiness. For us, this boxing ring represents those things that are entrenched and rooted in our lives that prevent us from going on with God. Oh, we all have them. Regardless of how pious you may want to think you are, there are things embedded in your life that hinder your walk with God. It may be some besetting sin in your life. It may be some besetting sin that prevents you from going deep in the things of God. It may be the root of bitterness and unforgiveness that stands between you and God's best. It may be deeply rooted fears from some painful, subdued event in your life. It may be some hereditary fears, some hereditary attitude that is holding you back. It could also be something from your past that continues to haunt you to this day. Whatever it is a stronghold in your life, and it stands between you and the victorious life that God has planned for you. Before you will ever receive all that God has for you, that stronghold has to come down. Look at your neighbor and say, it's got to come down. Our text tonight presents a classic example of how to gain confidence in the face of strongholds, how to live victorious in the face of adversity, and how to walk in authority in the face of apparent defeat. In this page from Israel's history, we uncover some truths that help us as we fight the battle against our own strongholds in our day. There are elements revealed in tonight's text that point us to the path of spiritual victory. Tonight we invite you to join us in these verses as we minister from the subject, they've got to come down.
Tonight's text tells us of a classic matchup between the Israelites and the Philistines. These two were long-standing enemies who showed up often on the field of combat to do battle. For them, the contest was all about one thing: which people would serve the other. History tells us that battles like this were often decided by having each side choose their bravest and strongest warrior. These two men would then fight and meet until death. When the contest was over, the side that lost would become servants to the victor. Another setup was happening here in the Valley of Elah. The only problem with this situation was the fact that the Philistine champion was no ordinary soldier. Let me tell you about it. In fact, the Bible tells us that he was quite a man. According to verse 4, he was about 9 feet tall, 9 inches. Verse 5 says he wore armor that weighed approximately 175 pounds. He's a big man. He carried a spear that was like a long heavy beam that weighed 17 pounds, with a spearhead that weighed in about 15 pounds. Verse 7 says, this was not an ordinary soldier. He was not. Verses 5 and 6 tells us that this man was covered from head to toe in armor that was made of solid brass. He may have must look like something of a solid gold monster. No wonder he struck fear in the hearts of the people. According to verse 10 and 16, every day for 40 days this giant appeared before the armies of Israel and made fun of them, cursed their God, and challenged them to send someone out to fight him. And every day Saul and the army of Israel trimmed their armor and were afraid to go and fight